nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry. Joining me tonight is Royce, and Rafa will be joining me on Sunday, probably about 8:30ish, somewhere, or probably around 8:30ish, to set that fair expectation for that here. Royce, how are you? I like the mug.
See, I have a unofficial sponsor, Mama Marge's Coffee here. So there you go.
If you'd like to sponsor us, we're open to it.
100%. That'd be great. Even if you want to pay some bean and cheese tacos, that would be useful. Yeah, my kid would love it too. That's one of the few things Rex will eat for breakfast. His favorite two breakfast items are either a bean and cheese taco or pancakes. So, because he's a toddler, and that's what toddlers do.
Well, I have teenagers, and bean and cheese tacos are typically what they get. And then,
so I say toddlers. At the same time, I should watch my mouth because I'm probably going to yell at her for this. But my wife's holy trinity of breakfast tacos is a barbacoa, a bean and cheese, and a chorizo and bean. Those three are that's her trifecta. So yeah.
Well, I'm not very shy of which tacos to eat, as evident by my size, unfortunately.
That's one of the it's one of the plus sides. Freudian slip.
Plus sizes if it's
right. Plus sides about it's one of the pros and cons of living in San Antonio is the food, because it's fantastic, and the problem is it's also fantastic. I will say a taco joint, Mama Margie's, you are number one, but what I would say, especially if you sponsor us, number two,
there's anybody that sponsors us, she'll be number one.
That's correct. Provisional number one, unless somebody sponsors us exactly. But there's a taco joint that I've had breakfast tacos from that we used to get tacos from every Friday at my previous job, which was in Bernie, called Mary's Tacos, and they just opened up a location by Bobby J's Burgers in Helotes. Yeah, go check out Mary's Tacos. It'll change your life. It's really good. Worth your time.
So I labeled this episode "The Good, the Bad, and SAFC," and I guess we could even talk about the U.S. men's national team, because I think that fits them as well for their performance this past weekend here. Sorry we missed show on Wednesday, but I was just worn out on Wednesday, after the late night up in Austin and getting back late working, and then I was exhausted, and then the kids were being kids.
Yeah, I actually had unfortunately a funeral for a relative on Wednesday, and it was around noon in the Texas sun while I was wearing all black, as was my wife. And the sun kind of took it out of us, but we have recovered. We're good to go, and let's get it.
So let's start with the first match, which I thought was a really good match. 1-1 draw to the Riverhounds. Disappointing ending.
Yeah.
But the Riverhounds, SAFC showed that they could go toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the league. And
the most impressive thing that I thought from this match was Alan Marcina going toe-to-toe with Bob Lilly, and
the halftime adjustments.
With the halftime adjustment, that worked beautifully. Once again, if you take out that last flipping 5 minutes,
but you got to give it to the Riverhounds. That's Lily ball right there. They play defensively. But Lilly was smart. He subbed in, his starters at halftime for that here. And I think Marcina knew that as well. Because when you saw the pregame lineup, where Forbes was out, Cicerone was out, and Dixon was out, you had to figure they were coming on if they needed in the second half, for that here. So, which is going to be kind of a teaser of what I think is developing a problem possibly with SAFC and the rotation up top is where, there's not really a rotation to have, which I think we saw as a prime example on Tuesday for that here. So, but to me, like I said here, what can you say here? The first half, ended up 0-0.
Yep.
But it was entertaining.
Should have been 1-0 because Nathan missed the penalty. Oh God, that hurt.
It was in
that
the
hurt
40th
so
minute.
bad. What? I thought that was in the 40th, right? Yeah, it was in the first half, wasn't it?
No,
am I misremembering? Okay, it was the 48th. I guess it was right after half. See, I thought it was.
But yeah, they had opportunities in the first half.
Yes, they did.
But you could tell it was two heavyweight teams in my opinion.
I will go out on a limb. I will say San Antonio FC dominated Pittsburgh in that first half. They dominated possession.
I think
they dominated in chances. I do too. I think they dominated that whole match as well. I mean, they got the penalty from the handball, but that was created because of a relentless press and all kinds of pressure that led to that. The first goal that Nathan ended up scoring, unfortunately, skied that penalty. And if I have video of it, I watched it on slow-mo. Basically what happened was Nathan was looking to go right. The goalkeeper saw that. Nathan opened up his hips to go right. The goalkeeper jumps, and as he jumps, Nathan tries to switch, and when he switches, he's leaning back and he kicks it over. So it was
there is a discussion that we need to have here.
Okay, real quick, real quick, what I'll go with, that's Nathan showing that he's still a teenager. Teenager, right? I got to check his age. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a teenager from Brazil, but I'm gonna fact check myself. Go ahead. What's the thing that you want to talk about?
Nathan is 22.
Is he really 22? Okay, you can tell he's still young. I should have said that. You can tell he's still young because that's a young player's move right there. Instead of because he still try to put his foot through it and put some power in it. But if you realize the goalkeeper's going the wrong way, calm down and just roll it into the other side. That's what the pros do, and that's unfortunately what Nathan should have done. He didn't do, but hopefully he learns from that. And that's a penalty miss I want to see now that he learns from, and not when we go into the playoffs. Knock on wood.
So my whole issue with the penalties, and true, we don't know the list of players that take the PKs, but it seems like if you look at the last number of PKs, it seems like whoever's drawn it has typically took the PK. And I know
no, I disagree. So the last few PKs that have that we've taken, it has been Nathan that takes the first one. He does not take the second one. If we get two in a game, which we have once,
twice.
We have gotten two penalties twice. Okay, then that's why he's not always the one that takes it. I'm sure I know PC scored after him on a penalty. Did PC take the second one as well?
He might have been out.
Yeah, he may have been out.
But I know he hasn't took all of them.
Real professional here, getting a player's number wrong and then not knowing PKs. That's awesome. But I will say it's a big change from previous seasons. And by previous seasons, I mean all 5 previous seasons, that we actually have more than 1 or 2 penalties.
It would have been Quayle because Nathan's took. Yep. Nathan's took 4, converted 3. Quayo and PC have took 1 and converted 1 each.
Yep. That would make sense. And that's kind of what they do is that Nathan will take the first one, and if there is a second one, it's somebody else. It's either going to be PC and obviously Quayo. And that it's also kind of smart because it switches up the feet because Nathan's right-footed, and then PC and Quayo are left-footed. So that's kind of a smart thing from the coaching staff. But at the same rate, PC's the captain, so you'd kind of expect him to take
I would have liked to seen Dylan take it though, especially on the result here. But when
did you see the Instagram video today of him versus Epps and their little like soccer tennis thing? Yeah. Basically they're supposed to kick it at each other, and if it's close enough, you're supposed to play it, and whoever messes up first loses. And Epps, I mean, the ball kept going super wide of Epps, and Dylan was arguing, hey, yeah, you got to play that. If you can catch it, you can play it. It's like, dude, he caught it up here. What? He's gonna catch it up here. Is he gonna bring his foot up there like Bruce Lee or something? So yeah, I don't know. No offense, Justin, but we'll I don't know. I haven't seen his PK, so maybe he's a sniper. So who knows?
I just that was one of the things, and I know you see it every once in a while, and we probably have this discussion once in a while, and it always comes down to what the team list is. Don't get me wrong, and I think what you said makes sense. Where Nathan gets the first, and then it rotates from there.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate that he missed. However, even with the miss, he came back, got a goal in the 64th minute.
Yes, he did a great header from across from Jose. Yeah, that was a powerful header that the keeper had no chance on to get over there in time. And
SAFC was closing out the game until, unfortunately, the 90th minute, and unfortunately a cross over to Dixon, and he was open. It was nothing Matt could do about it, and
nope.
He's a star in the league, and he did what stars do and finished it.
That's correct.
They walked away 1-1, and I thought it was a fair result. I do think San Antonio was.
I disagree with the fair result. I think SAFC deserved a win. If you look at their XG, their expected goals, San Antonio FC had, I believe, 2.3 something expected goals in that match, and Pittsburgh had 0.32. So
when you do not convert on your chances,
when you don't convert chances, then you
leave the door open.
Then the expected goals remain expected, and that would be the same pattern in the next match on Tuesday, which is a real quick turnaround, unfortunately. And you can kind of tell. Well, let's go to the match now, Austin.
Well, I will say this, and this goes to Jonathan Check, and I think it's so true. San Antonio FC's history, and even this year, if the game ended at 85 minutes, they would probably be in first place.
San Antonio FC is and
the leaking of the late goals is
So their hashtag is #defend210. They should also take the hashtag from Trump and hashtag stop the count, because they need it, and they would be a super successful team if they would stop the count at 80 or 85 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, it just to me, it's.
And just this season, the Asokar goal, the ridiculous bicycle kick when they were down to 10 men, this one.
Well, even if you go to the Real Monarchs game.
That's what I was going to say. The Real Monarchs game when they snatched the tie. No. Yeah. There's a couple others that I'm thinking of. I can't think of the opponent right now, but yeah, I mean, just this season, there's been like 3 or 4 results like that where the game would have ended 10 minutes early. Hey, 3 points, and we're probably in first place in this division. But if ifs and buts were candy nuts, it'd be Christmas every day, and that's not how soccer's played. And San Antonio FC needs to finish their chances, and they need to play out games.
And so moving on to Tuesday, which was a real short turnaround, unfortunately for SAFC. I think, and I know it may not seem a whole lot, but I think it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think if they would have played on Wednesday, I think that game's played a little bit different because they get that extra day of rest.
Correct. Also, if we don't have to make up games, I think we have a more number one lineup, dare I say. I think we had, and this is kind of where the late season additions kind of come in handy. In the middle, you had PC and Abu start. You didn't have Cam. Cam needs some rest. Cam's played almost every flipping minute. At the same time, as a back line, you get Schuberg and you get Tintor, who have both are pretty light on minutes. I will say right off the bat, congratulations, Axel. Axel had a beautiful baby girl last week. Congratulations, you and your family, man. That has nothing to do with soccer. That is your family, and that's a number one priority right there. And couldn't be happier for you. Especially, I mean, obviously Harry's a father, I'm a father, and it's not easy, and it's a flipping miracle, and it's amazing, and it's the best thing you can do with your life.
Yes.
But let's get back to soccer, something very unimportant. You can definitely tell in this match that Axel and Taintor have not had a lot of minutes this season, whether it's due to being on other team and whatever, how they utilize Taintor, and Axel being hurt kind of a bit and kind of being out for the last few and being in. And at the same time, the last time those two played together on the same field during a game was the very first match of 2020. Yeah.
March of
so
2020.
It's been a while since they played together, and you can tell because they had some chemistry issues for sure. The thing that constantly kept happening, unfortunately, is and this is what Axel does, and this is what makes him effective in a back three, key back three. This time it was the pairing. Normally it's a back three. Back three, Axel's in the middle, and he will step out and put pressure on whoever has the ball in zone 14. If you're in zone 14 is the zone that's right there, right in front of the penalty box. If you will recall in past matches, the first time we played in New Mexico, the first time, when we played Vegas, when we played Colorado Springs, a lot of those matches, the goal, Real Monarchs, the goals that they scored mostly came from chances developed right there in zone 14. We just kind of left the space open. We didn't have a defender go up. The center back stayed back, and the forward took advantage and either put it in a corner, found a pass, and put it in. That's where a lot of chances against us were created. That's why Axel steps out. That is a design thing, is to step in the middle and interrupt that. If you want to even bring in the USMNT, the goal that was it else? We played Honduras the third game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was in Honduras. It was can't think of the stadium right now. It's sand, and I just drew a blank. Anyway, the goal that they scored, the first goal in that game, was John Brooks stepping out to try to stop an attack, but he completely missed and he whiffed and he left everything open behind him. That's kind of what happened with Axel in this. That works in a back three. Unfortunately, it didn't work. It didn't work in this pairing.
What is it? Estadio Olímpico Metropolitan. Oh,
well, it's the city it's in.
Oh, the city.
San Paul. Anyway,
San Pedro.
San Pedro. Thank you. San Pedro Sula. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I could not think of San Pedro Sula is what we call that. Anyway, in this match, Axel would step out, and when he'd step out, he'd leave space between. So Taintor had to come over and cover. And when Taintor came over and covered, Lima had to come over and cover, which left the entire left side of the field open. And that's where Torres was for Austin. And he just kept getting all kinds of service going his way. And he would put in crosses, and Austin converted a couple of those chances. And that was pretty much the game right there. Was just that defensive pattern just kept playing itself over and over again, to the point where Austin created 6 big chances in this match. And the last time we played, my birthday game in Austin created 0 chances, and they just kept constantly trying to cross stuff in, and they couldn't get anything going. This time we left that open because of that same pattern. They kept crossing, and they created 6 chances off of it. And that was pretty much the match right there.
And I thought that, because they came out with the same lineup.
Yep. Well,
as far as
Like on the offensive part, yes, because they still had
Well,
Nathan.
no, I'm
was
talking
there,
about formation wise.
Okay, yeah, formation, not the
Formation
same
wise, they
lineup,
came out
not
the
the same
same
lineup, but the same formation. Yes.
Yeah, formation. Sorry, same formation.
Yeah.
But the difference to me on this one here is Dylan came in instead of Emil Cuello, and I think that was against Austin. Emil opened them up so much in that game. It was probably his best game for San Antonio FC.
Mm-hmm.
And
no doubt there. Yeah, that was a real good game by him, and I'll explain why. Continue.
But and this was nothing against Dylan, because I thought Dylan had a good game. I just think that if you're gonna do that 4-3-3 is what they lined up in.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, like I said, you needed another fast guy in there to kind of help set that up.
Well, it was the 4-4-2 they were in. The same 4-4-2 they were in the second half against Pittsburgh. That's what they played in. Was that 4-4-2? And you had Nathan and Dylan up top. Now, but yeah, you are correct though that in the I'm going to call it my birthday match in Austin, that was a 4-3-3, and that allowed Cuello to drop back. Now, this is why Cuello was so damn effective in that first match, and why we could not match the same. And it was a change in formation and a change in personnel and kind of philosophy. So, what that 4-3-3 allowed, and this is what Austin loves to do. This is what Austin has done since
They started.
I can remember, yeah, pretty much since was Marcelo there?
Yes,
he's their initial coach, right? Yeah.
Up until this week, he has been
obviously
the only coach, and then he got promoted, and I think this was more to get Ryan Thompson some experience under his belt, and
right.
Congratulations to him, because I've heard nothing
absolutely
but great things from him, and his future is bright.
He made some very smart adjustments and some very smart tactical.
Just wish it wasn't against us.
Yeah, I know he deployed some really smart tactical. Well, I guess he deployed some very smart tactics. I'm trying to say tactical, but some smart tactics with that one that I was saying, where Lema had to keep coming in and he kept having Torres fill that spot to cross. What Austin has always done, they've always basically had a 4-2-4 in possession. They'll have a 4-2-4, and out of possession, it'll be a flat 4-4-2. So they're very much a Burnley of the USL Championship. That's what they like to plan. Just that flat 4-4-2, just gumming up the works. Same thing with Iceland. Iceland's recent success in the last couple World Cups, they play a flat 4-4-2. It's a very simple thing to play. It's very defensive and hard to break down. That's what they like to do. But in that 4-2-4, there is a lot of space between the 4 and the 2. Whenever Austin is in possession, that 4 will come up, and on the far right will typically, so the 4, the right side of that 4, it'll be Torres, and outside of Torres will be Omar Gordon, and they like to use Omar Gordon's speed out there. The 2 in the midfield will push up to help and to help some passing, but there's a huge gap between the midfield 2 and their back 4, and Austin always loves to keep their back 4 back.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what would happen in the match, the first match, my birthday match, is Cuello would occupy the space between the 2 midfielders. He'd go on the other side of them, and he'd be in between the 2 midfielders and the 4 in the back. And he would just sit there, and we would pass it to him, and he would get the passes, and he would turn and run. And that's why he was so effective. That's why he had so many breaks. That's why he had so many assists. And that, even with that, Cuello was still a step to a half step too slow, right. And he could have created, we could have 10 goals in that match. Austin never adjusted to what we were doing. It was obvious what Cuello was doing. They never had anybody guard him or anybody mark him. We could have had a lot. It's just Cuello was a little slow, but once again, it was his best match in an SAFC uniform. Fast forward to Tuesday, we didn't have that person. We had Nathan go up as a forward. We also had Dylan go up as a forward, and you had Jose and Epps on the wings would kind of press, and then they would try to dribble inside in a diagonal dribble. And that was pretty much it. We never had anybody occupy that space. At the same time, that is a space that Cam Lindley may have been able to occupy. But we had Abu and we had PC start, who are two defensive midfielders, and they had their hands full with that Austin attack, especially with the back line having issues. That pulled Abu and PC back, and we couldn't have anybody in that middle. And that was pretty much it. Despite those issues, despite the formation just not really playing to our hands like it did on my birthday match, we still created a lot of chances, and we should have put those chances away. And at minimum, we should have tied that game.
Yeah, we should have walked away to tie.
But this is it's the same thing as a Pittsburgh game, and it's the same thing that happened in the first third of the season where everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a large portion of this fan base, Harry, was panicking that this team may not be good enough. And I said, everything comes back, everything averages out. We're creating a lot of chances, and there was a lot of talk about Allen and Coach Marcina, and how, is he the right coach? I'm still sticking with my guns. Yes.
I think he's still the right coach.
That wasn't the talk a couple months ago, but I'm still sticking to my guns. Yes, he is. We've created a lot of chances. He has very smart tactics that he deploys, very smart game plans. Just sometimes the ball doesn't roll like you want to. And this is just one of those matches where the ball didn't roll like you wanted to. We should have won against Pittsburgh. Should have won against Austin, but we played kind of like doo-doo against Austin. So good on them for those 3 points. They deserve that. And good on Pittsburgh for not quitting. But that's just kind of how soccer goes. But to get 1 point out of those two games, that kind of sucks. Yep.
I will say this. The Austin match was a trap game. It was.
It was, That if you remember last week when we were talking the midweek match against Real Monarchs, we're like, yeah, this is a trap game. This isn't going to work out for us. Didn't end up being that way, but this was that trap game. It was coming off of 2 days rest, basically,
and they had been off a week plus, so they were well rested,
100%. And you could tell. Did you see how fast Omar was running? Yes. Jesus, dude! Good God, Omar, give us a break, man.
And I'll say this, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. Jose was staying with him step for step on a couple of those chances where Omar was busting down.
Yeah,
Jose's got some wheels now.
Yeah, he does.
I don't think Jose had a good game that game,
no.
And I think the missing piece was we didn't have Cuello in the middle, and that's
we didn't have a 10 in the middle, which we don't have a 10 anymore. But like I said, I think the whole point. I think what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to be PC. That's why I had PC and you had Abu. I think PC was supposed to be forward, and we're supposed to play more like what Rafa was saying in a 4-4-2 diamond. Mm-hmm. I think PC was supposed to be the tip of that diamond, and he was supposed to be in that space. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because he had to get pulled back because he had to help with the back line because the back line was having all kinds of issues. So,
and to me, this reminded me of what kind of that second game that first game against Real Monarchs.
Yeah,
where all the goals were scored basically in a 5-minute span in this entire game. Austin scored on the great, on a great header. SAFC came back and equalized, and the Bulls got one right at the end. Yeah,
a minute later.
Yeah, right before the half. And
outside
of that, it was. I won't say SAFC was the better team because I think Austin played really well. Especially for Coach Thompson with that being his first game.
Yep.
You could tell. You could tell they had a little bit extra pep in their step, and they wanted to play for him. And when they got the result, it was awesome to see. Even as a SAFC fan, you could tell everybody was excited for him. And I think even Coach Marcina went over. Sometimes there's the grumpy handshakes. This one, this one it was not. It was not an El Paso ending where everybody was hey, it was a good game. But to me, I was speaking with David, the owner of the Syntex Hornets, before the match, and he's like, SAFC should just clean them. I was like, no, I just had that uneasy feeling that this was that game that it was that perfect storm for Austin to kind of step up, and they did, and credit to Austin.
Match, yep.
So before we get to the preview of Real Monarchs here, and then kind of touch base on the on the U.S. men's national team and where they're at here. Oof. And we'll discuss the Mexican national team with Rafa on Sunday because they seem to be in a little bit better position. But just where we're at here in USL Championship. In the Atlantic, the top four, the Rowdies, Riverhounds are in second at 44. Miami's closely behind at 38, and Charlotte's this week's in the fourth slot for that here. In the Central, Louisville City still it's tight. Only a 4-point gap between them and Birmingham Legion. Tulsa's on a roll recently with 5 straight wins.
Man, how about Tulsa turning it around?
Tulsa's
and OKC. Good Lord, yeah.
OKC's there. Don't sleep on Atlanta. Indy 11
for sure.
I don't know what the hell.
Indy 11 is the San Diego Loyal of the Central.
San Diego Loyal's in second, but the team to kind of look out for, and they are on SAFC schedule, is Memphis. They're about 2-3 games back of everybody else, and they're only about 4 points, and then Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, and former SAFC player Kyle Murphy is on flipping fire for Memphis. So yeah, that could be a match where we run into him at just the wrong time.
Out in the mountain, El Paso on a 2-game winless streak. And I know that's big news here, but they've only got a 7-point gap, but 2 games in hand. Switchbacks play a huge match this week with RGV. SAFC's at Real Monarchs, which we're going to talk, and Bold and United kick off probably in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
For that here. So that'll, if you're once we're done, hopefully you'll turn into that, because that for SAFC could have huge implications. And then out in the Pacific, Rising, Loyal, Orange County, Tacoma. I think those are going to be your 4. Sacramento, they're just too inconsistent.
Let me change that. Indy 11 is the Sac Republic of the Central. There we go. That's it. And San Diego Loyal is the FC Tulsa of the Pacific. There we go.
Yeah,
we got it. We got it. We did it, guys. We did it. Congrats.
The team to kind of look out for to see, I guess you could say, is the Roots. But I still think they dug themselves too deep of a hole to come back for that here.
They dug themselves too deep of a turf.
San Antonio, Rio Grande.
That was bad. I'm sorry.
We're done. Hate to say it. It's between El Paso and Austin. Austin has to win out, and even then, I don't think they have a shot. So congratulations, Copa Tejas. It's been decided, but with the Bold loss, or with SAFC's loss to the Bold, it has officially eliminated them from Copa Tejas. And thank you, Aaron, for your charts on this. It makes it very easy to be able to do this. So taking kind of a snapshot here of the playoff structures, if this was to happen here as of this week. In the mountain, you got Tacoma going to El Paso. We would be actually going to San Diego, so that would be very interesting, and that might be something to where I could talk my wife into going.
I was going to say.
Depending on when it is. She likes San Diego. Fair play pod, 2 balls on the mic.
I have never been to California. My wife loves California, so we'll see.
If that worked out, I would not object. The other thing I kind of like about this, and I know you're either on El Paso side or Rising side. I think I'd rather be on El Paso side than on Phoenix side. But 2-3 would be Switchbacks, OC, and a rematch from earlier this year where OC has defeated the Switchbacks already. And hanging on to 4th is RGV. They'd head out to the land of the rising sun, where they lost already this year. Out in the East,
land of the rising sun. They're not going to Japan, man.
No, rising. Come on, son. Hot. Roll with it. So
you tried.
Out in the East, Energy and Rowdies, the better of the Greens. To me, an interesting and tasty one would be that 2-3 match with the Birmingham Legion and Miami FC.
I would have to agree. The fighting
Fighting Billy
Flemings against the
Forbes.
fighting Forbeses. Yeah, I like it.
And then the 2-3 Pittsburgh, Tulsa. That would be very interesting. And then Charlotte, which just keeps bringing in Charlotte FC, or was it? Is it Charlotte FC? I think. Well, I'm assuming Charlotte FC.
Yeah,
'cause
whatever the
every
MLS team is
FC.
going to be. Yeah, whatever
Playoffs,
generic name
would be heading to Louisville City, but
I think it's like Charlotte City FC.
yeah, Charlotte Queen. Something, I don't know. It's god awful, and they have the worst ticket prices, going out there.
Yeah.
For that. Supporter Shield for the best record. And this is important for home field right now. Rowdies would be in first, rising. Surprisingly, El Paso's in fifth, and there's a clear break, and really at this point, the West is going to have to.
They're in fifth with 2 games in hand, and
Right.
if they win those 2 games, they could be first again. Yeah,
but right now they're fifth. I was kind of surprised about that, but. And then the Wooden Spoon, and the reason why this is important, Loudoun United, who tied RGV, thank you. And then the next 2 opponents of SAFC, Real Monarchs this week, or pardon me, tomorrow, and then on Wednesday against the New York Red Bulls. So this week here, kind of looking at a preview here, and like I said, we'll kind of touch base on the Real Monarchs side, which is the Charlie Adams show, in my opinion. Must win.
I mean, I said from the beginning, I did not come up with a point total, but I definitely said that this stretch of 7 games in 21 days is going to be the make or break stretch for SAFC. If we somehow manage to get 14 points from these 7 matches, that would be immense, and we would average 2 points per game. So that'd be 14 points. As of right now, we have 7 in 4 games. Is that correct? So
which one were we starting out with? The El Paso?
Just the first match back from COVID, wasn't it? Which would have been El Paso, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 7 points out of 4 matches, and if we get 7 in the next 3, so if we've got to win 2. I think if we win against Sac Republic and we win against Real Monarchs and we draw against New York Red Bulls 2, I think we are in very, very, very good position. And I think that would be ideal. Do I think that's what's going to happen? I think we win one of these matches and we draw the other 2. I think we're going to get 4 or 5 points out of these 3 matches, which is not a break. That is not a break of the season. That still puts us in pretty dang decent position to A, qualify for the playoffs, and B, we should still be in that position for second place, depending on if Colorado Springs stays cold like they are right now, but we'll see.
So for me, so Real Monarchs played on Wednesday away, lost 2-0 to the Switchbacks, who lost one of their star forwards because he decided to throw a ball at a ball boy.
Yeah, that's
for that. But
Galena, yeah. What are you doing, Galena?
Ball boy was delaying the game a little bit, but you still can't do that. You can't do that.
You can't do that. I mean, there's a lot of things you don't do. That's almost number 1 right there is abusing children on the field. Yeah. No, just no. Awful. Just awful. And I'm sure he's going to get a 3 to 5 match ban for that.
No, you got 2.
2? That's
2. You got 2 and a fine.
You get 3 for you get 3 for swinging on a dude. You get 2 for child abuse. Cool.
But Real Monarchs at home, 3 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses, -5 goal difference, average about 1.1 points at home compared to on the road where they average 0.45. San Antonio FC on the road, 3 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses, -1 goal difference, averaging 1.2 points on the road. So to me, and I know Salt Lake, Real Monarchs is a tough place to play, but you got to have it. They got an extra day rest. Now they got to travel. And that's why
extra
I said
day. Yeah, 4 days rest. Extra day. But at least the center back should be rested. Hopefully Cam got a good rest.
Ford did. He made the trip to Austin, but he didn't play. He wasn't even in the 18, which
he was just in street clothes, which is that's fine. Like
I disagree with that, but I didn't.
I think
I didn't want to go into that tonight.
But so a big part of traveling in general is team building.
Yes.
Ford is new to the team. He gets to be around the team more. You build that chemistry. And even if you don't play, you're still there. You're still there for all the team activities. That's a pretty big thing. And that's...
I know this is crazy to say, but if Ford starts and Schulberg doesn't start, I think we have different results personally. And that's
I do too. And that's because Taintor and Ford have played together and they know what to expect and they probably can communicate a little bit better.
But like I said here, Axel is a captain of the team.
Yeah, he is. And Axel's really good at what he does. It was a communication thing. It's just like John Brooks is really effing good, just bad communication. And that was the big problem with the back line for the U.S. in the first half against Honduras was just no communication. James Sands just had a shocker of a game. Mark McKenzie didn't really help John Brooks out too much when John Brooks came out. John Brooks didn't help himself out when he came out. And I mean, Miles Robinson, he was fine. But at the same time, when you have one center back out of 3 really performing well, and you have a defensive central midfielder not doing too well, it's just bad. And that was it. And you had Tyler Adams trying to do too much from the right wing position to try to help out the defense and left his spot alone for that cross to come in. It was just kind of when one thing went wrong, everything went wrong. And it was the first half of the USMNT and Honduras match was very much just like the first half of the Bold match for SAFC. Just the back line just didn't work well together.
Breaking news, the injury report, Preston just sent it out, same as last week. Patino, DePlane, Gleedle, and Kamiri. Patino's out. The other 3 are questionable for here, but I'm assuming if they're on this one here, they're most likely still out. So
probably
for it here. But to me, before we get into the U.S. men's national team, San Antonio is in probably one of the toughest stretches that you can be in.
Yep.
They play 6 out of 7 away, and then from starting on September 7th to October 4th. Well, I don't think that's right here because it says El Paso there. Hold on, what day do they play El Paso? I think that's a Wednesday match, right?
I think so.
The site that I had it as a
research on the fly, totally professional. Let's see.
But anyway, 6 out of 7 on the road. So
yep,
this is gonna be a stretch, and they go from all 4 time zones to be able to do it here. So when they get back, the good news, they have 5 out of the last, or 4 out of the last 5 at home. Only trips is away against New Mexico.
Yeah, 5 of 6. Well, if you include the Austin match, then you have 7 of 8 on next matches on the road.
Right, which I do because technically it is away.
Correct, and then you have like a flurry of home games to finish out the season.
Yeah, so. To me, like I said here, this stretch it's Wednesday, October 6th. And then they come home and face Memphis on that Sunday. And then they get an actual break with Memphis, Tulsa, which I don't think the East is as good. And then away against New Mexico, and then home against Austin and Colorado. And that Colorado Springs match is shaping up to be a huge match. But so just keep, hopefully there'll be some watch parties where we can kind of get together in a safe, open area, hopefully, to be able to do it. If not, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, encourage the boys, for that here. So that way, they can still feel our presence for that here. U.S. men's national team here. They were 45 minutes away from.
Yikes! Yeah, I think yikes is the correct word.
And that was one of the listening to like Scruff or not Scruff,
Scuffed.
Scuff.
Shout out to the boys at Scuffed.
Total Soccer Show.
Yep.
Pretty much any show, the XM, morning shows that they have.
The Extra Time boys. Yeah.
It wasn't looking good.
No, it wasn't. It was a downer.
And that was coming off of two draws before. And the first draw, it was like, hey, you get a draw.
First
away.
draw was away in El Salvador.
First time.
Yeah.
I was okay with it. They didn't play
exactly.
poor, but that's CONCACAF.
Yeah.
Ty in Canada, that was a separate
at
discussion.
home. Bad.
At home.
Bad.
That wasn't good.
Awful.
You didn't play Pepe. And then there were some comments of, well, we got to find the right time from him. I'm like, what was your right time? We're not scoring.
To quote the great Rage Against the Machine, what better place than here? What better time than now? Yeah. And obviously the real unfortunate events that happened were the El Salvador match. Before the El Salvador match, Christian Pulisic could not play. He's still dealing with a muscle issue, and he wasn't completely fit because he was just coming off of having COVID. And Zach Steffen tested positive for COVID, so he had to stay back. So he could not go either, which didn't end up really hurting us too bad because Matt Turner was a damn beast between the posts. That guy had a wonderful, by far the best player of any USMNT player in those three world qualifying matches. I was impressed. I was thinking we were going to miss something by not having Horvath, which obviously Horvath is off did not make the trip over because he has a new team and he needs to get settled with them. But I thought not having Steph in there we're really going to have issues. Matt Turner, he rocked it. He was awesome. At the same rate, not having Pulisic there, you could tell that kind of hurt us with some creative ideas. We had what ended up happening? What did we have? Brendan Aronson in the middle, and he just kept getting beat up like a teenage Christian Pulisic used to get beat up in CONCACAF. But that was a lesson that Greg Berhalter didn't really learn. The last time that we went through this World Cup qualifying cycle, it was good Lord, Bruce Arena. Before Bruce Arena, it was help me out. German player, played for Tottenham. Why am I blanking on his name? Good Julian. Oh my God!
Klinsmann, right? You're not
Thank
talking
you,
about
Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann. Yes.
I was like, who is he trying to go for?
Yes. Good Julian. That's the Men in Blazers. How they make fun of it. Anyway. No, but it was that was a lesson that Klinsmann needed to learn was if your best player is a slight teenager or young player, they're going to get beat up in CONCACAF. That's what CONCACAF is, and that's what happened to Aronson. He couldn't get anything started because he was just getting beat up. And once again in CONCACAF, you see this all the time. The ref, where to put my cards? I left them in the locker room. It's fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. So and that's exactly what happened. He kept getting beat up. You had Gio out on the outside who can get isolated out there and wasn't really effective and took a couple knocks. And so I know he's going to be out for a week or two because of those bad tackles. So that's kind of what
too, right?
Yeah, he's out with the muscle injury as well. He had an ankle injury, a bad foul. But yeah, that was the Canada game. But that's kind of what happened in that same El Salvador game was, it was just kind of due to personnel that was available, and Austin and New Mexico just kicked off right now, by the way. The personnel available, I get it. You still had no business giving up that one goal, but at the same rate, it is what it is. Against Canada, bad, just bad. You had Christian Pulisic, by obviously the best player on the pitch, but nobody else to play off of. You kind of see that every once in a while with Jose, where Jose just dribbles through people, but there's no one to really pass it off to or to combine with, and that's kind of what happened in that match. And you basically had Alphonso Davies, just completely burn the entire right side of our defense with Yedlin and whoever the center back was out there. I can't think of right now, but I mean, the dude's on the FC Bay, they call him the Roadrunner, the FC Bay Roadrunner, because he's so damn fast, and that's what he does. He runs behind defenses, and I mean that's what that guy does. And we let that happen to us, and that's how they got their goal.
So you had for Canada, you had Sergio Dest, you had Miles Robinson, Brooks, and then Anthony Robinson, and then you had Acosta, Adams, Sebastian Lletget.
That's right. We were in a 4-3-3, so yeah, it was a back four. So it was basically just Fonzie just burnt Yedlin, and on the right side would have been Miles Robinson as well. But that's pretty much
Dest originally.
That's right. Dest came off with an injury. He's injured as well. Dest came off, and they put Yedlin in, and that's when that tying goal happened. Was Fonzie getting behind Yedlin, which you could tell Yedlin hasn't gotten a lot of minutes for Galatasaray, as he looked a little rusty, but I think he looked real good in that final match against Honduras. I thought he looked like he always has. He looked like the dependable, quick DeAndre Yedlin. I think he just needed to get some game speed. But that first half was tumultuous in that Honduras game. That was the worst half that we played out of all 6 halves that we played, for sure. And it looked desperately bad.
And I'll say this, going into Honduras with everything that was going on with the U.S. men's national team, with Weston McKennie, the results, the first half.
That was the thing I didn't mention, but I'm trying not to, because
I'm just mentioning. That's just embarrassing. The only reason why I'm mentioning it is because
it needs to be mentioned. It needs to be mentioned, but it's embarrassing. Yeah.
And I submitted this to Dan Vaughn, who runs Protagonist Soccer, and along those lines here. I was like, is the U.S. men's national team cursed? Because pretty much all the injuries.
There goes Omar.
Poor decisions by Greg Berhalter, and it was ugly.
Yep.
If US loses that match, I think they're ripe for a coaching change. And and I know that sucks to say, because the U.S. hasn't technically lost in 12 matches, right?
Pretty much.
They haven't lost this summer.
Right.
And, one loss probably shouldn't get you fired, but it was
especially when 5 of your best players aren't available,
right,
and one has to go home because of a disciplinary problem. Yeah, I don't know about that, but
you can't say that wasn't. Yeah, when everybody's talking about it, when everybody, there was whispers. Now, whether they would have pulled it or not, I don't think they would have, but It would have been up for a heavy, for a heated discussion. We'll just put that nicely as far as that. But second half, coach made some changes. What was your thoughts on the second half? And I guess to me, it and I know people have been trying to get Pepe on the pitch.
No way.
And for a lot of different reasons, but I do think it is important because he is a Mexican American that did choose to play for Mexico, or pardon me, for the United States over
Right.
Mexico. And I think for the United States, if they could have him take off and be really successful, to me, I think that can kind of open the door where maybe, instead of having
like Jonathan Gonzalez switch,
having
the
players say, "Hey,
goalkeeper
Mexico is the better option," and this is nothing. This is nothing against Mexico because they're a great team, and
correct.
like David Ochoa, I think that was the right decision for him. Just
Yep.
because it gives him the opportunity for for playing time. But to me, if you could have a successful attacking player that let's be honest, will bring major dollars for marketing and stuff like that, would be a huge lift, for the United States men's, United States soccer in general. Obviously, the men's national team would benefit on that. But your thoughts on the second half and kind of what changed and the future of Pepe and I wish I was FC Dallas because they're going to be making a lot of money most likely this summer.
Like they haven't made a lot of money with their transfers of like Taylor Booth and Che. Well, the pending transfer of Che. Anyway, I'm going to steal some info that I heard on Total Soccer Show because that's my that's the show that I enjoy the most. Oh, for sure. Is that a bug flying in my coffee? That's great luck there. Just straight up, just like flew right into it. Well, to be fair, if I was a bug, that's probably what I'd do. I'd just be like, oh, that's black coffee, flying in it. But from the Greg Berhalter presser afterwards, he pretty much said, I got it wrong. And I'll conclude it with how I feel, and it kind of reflects how everybody else feels about it, but but that's what Berhalter said. He said, we had gone to the 3-back before. We just hadn't necessarily done it with that group. And that's one thing that is a pro and con of Berhalter is that he will experiment. If you remember that kind of first and second match against Mexico, where we kind of got played off the field the entire time, he had that press conference and everybody's out for blood. Like, what are you thinking? What was your thought process? Just questioning him. And he's like, I'm experimenting. These are my first 2 matches against Mexico. I got to learn how they play. I got to learn how they react to things. And based on those reactions, that's how, that's a foul. That's how I'm going to play. I need to see how they're going to react to certain things. So I have a better idea of what they're going to do. And to be fair, Berhalter beat Mexico twice in tournament finals this summer, probably because he learned something and his coaching staff learned a couple things from those poor results a couple years ago. So shrug, like he's learning and he's not afraid to experiment. Problem is it really the right time to experiment when you're in the middle of World Cup qualifying? Like,
well, you're at the start. You're not the middle yet, but you're at the start of it.
Right. But at this, exactly. And you would rather those mistakes happen in the beginning. You'd rather those mistakes happen in the beginning qualifying than actually at the World Cup. I'll say that. But probably the most important thing about it is he saw the mistakes. He saw that he didn't put the right lineup on. He owned up to it. He didn't do a Klinsmann where it was just about the players. It was, no, yeah, I got it wrong. I put the players in a bad position. They did well, but I realized what I did. I put them in a more comfortable position, and we came up with some different, different game plans. You want to talk about a turnaround? That was a huge turnaround. And it was just kind of getting the players in a more familiar, formation. It wasn't even that. It was really, he put them in a back 3. John Brooks has never played well in a back 3, really. And he had 2 new guys around him. Once again, James Sands just had a shocker of a match. The entire time, even when he came back as a center back, he still looked shaky and he did not look good. He looked great in the Champions League. Champions? No, not Champions League. The CONCACAF Nations League. That's it. That was the second one. Or was it the Gold Cup? No, it was the Gold Cup. It was the Gold Cup, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked really good in the Gold Cup. I'm sorry, I forget all of these tournament wins that we have against Mexico. It's kind of tough to keep up with them. But no, the Gold Cup. He looked really good in the Gold Cup, and he deserved his spot there for World Cup qualifying. He just looked lost. He looked like a lost puppy. You could tell he was always a step slow because he was trying to think about where he was, and nothing was natural, and he was just he was in his head. It was a quicksand game for him, and it was in his head. He made one mistake, and that mistake just turned into a few in a row. But at the same rate, like I said, Berhalter made those changes. He took out Sargent. He took out Brooks. And a big reason why he took out Brooks was because he had a very similar, I'm going to tie it back to SAFC, had a very similar mistake that Axel Schuberg kind of kept having in that bold match. So he took off Brooks. He took off Sargent, who just had, again, a bad match. And Sargent's the one who gave up the ball that led to that first goal by Honduras. So, yeah, it didn't work out too well that first half. But the second half with the subs and the formation changed, worked like gangbusters, man. And Anthony Robinson, I will say the revelations from these three matches, good Lord. Revelations from these three matches in World Cup qualifying were Matt Turner. I feel much more confident with him back there.
Do you think he's the number one?
Oh, no. But he's a really good either backup or a number two. We'll see. I mean, he and Ethan.
Some are pushing for him to be the number one.
Yeah, I mean,
because Zach hasn't played. To be fair, he hasn't.
Zach hasn't played, but Zach.
But he plays at a much higher league and higher talent. That I understand. Yeah,
it's that, but Zach is more used to playing it out of the back. And if you a lot of the game plans that Berhalter likes to deploy, you need a goalkeeper that can play it out of the back and is very comfortable doing so. Turner isn't so much one that plays with the ball at his feet. He is more a shot stopper, and he really showed that. And that's what we needed. Ironically, that's what we really needed in these matches. But if you're kind of going and you're trying to play through your goalkeeper kind of as a third center back almost, it's Zach Steffen every day, all day. Because that dude will ping a ball 60, 70 yards and put it right on someone's foot. And you can't really teach that. So, and that's what he does. But anyway, so just to finish up real quick, Turner was a revelation. Miles Robinson looked really good again. Anthony Robinson as a left back, those were his. That was the best he's looked in a U.S. jersey, the most comfortable, and obviously he scored a goal, but he shut down a lot, and he got up high, and he gave really good service. Like that was what he does for Fulham, and he did it for the U.S. finally, and that was great. Serginho Dest did not have a good 3 matches.
Dest and Sargent. I'm not sure which one.
Dest, was more Sargent, and Brooks, all three did not have. They're world class players. They just didn't look good, man. Did not look good. But I think the player that had the worst 3 matches of anybody, I dare say in CONCACAF, was obviously Weston McKennie. That's unacceptable, man. That's just completely unacceptable. But he's young. He's got to learn. That's kind of his first. He'll be back. That's his first strike.
Well, he better be back. Well, I'll leave it at that.
No, he'll be back. I think Berhalter made the smart call by sending him sending him back to Italy, and just being like,
send him home.
Try again. We're not going to risk this entire campaign for everyone to get COVID because you had a moment of selfishness. Can't do that, dude. You can't do that. Just try again. We'll try again later, and if you do that again, you're done. And I'm sure that was the talk. Like, you got to grow up, dude. You got to think about where you're at. You got to think about how important this is. It's not about you. It's not about you and some random bachelor party or bachelorette party that invited you. It's not about that, dude. This is big shit. Like, put your big boy pants on. We're doing it. So
take the 10 days off and just relax, and then you
Think
do
of-
what you want.
yeah. What's the line from Skyfall, the Bond movie? Think on your sins. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Go sit down, think about what you've done. We'll talk later. Yep.
So U.S., I think they have another 3-match set in a week, which is just crazy to me, but I understand you have to be able to do it. They get Jamaica on October 7th at
rough.
Panama, which is tough because Panama's been kind of the surprise of it. And then home against Costa Rica. So hopefully by that point they can do it. And then, in November, they get Mexico here on November 12th, and then away against Jamaica. So Jamaica's, I think, so far been the worst team in this level of CONCACAF qualifying.
I don't think they're the worst team. I think they just had the worst results. They really went toe to toe with Mexico, and Mexico.
But Mexico, and I'm going to get into this with Rafa. Mexico hasn't looked good either.
No,
they've got the results.
Shaky. They've gotten the results, but they've looked shaky.
But
exactly.
They haven't looked good.
Exactly. They are in the beginning of the season, they were the New Mexico United.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting the results. They didn't look good doing it, but they got the results. And then
that's what's important at this stage.
That's it.
Those
results. Get those points. Exactly. You can't win. You can't qualify in the beginning, but you could definitely lose qualification in the beginning. And that's why it's important. Exactly.
And I do think it's extremely important for the United States to build up as many points as they can.
Yep.
Because the last 3 matches at Mexico, home against Panama, at Costa Rica, to me, you don't want to have to depend on having to get a lot of points from that set of games there, because from my knowledge, I don't think we've ever won in Mexico in CONCACAF qualifying. I know we've got a tie or two around there. Costa Rica has always played the United States tough away. And like I said here, we'll see if Panama still has the staying power, from it here. But, and that's a home match. But those 2 out of 3 away, in March, which is crazy to say is 6 months away that we're looking at this here.
That's stupid, right? Dumb. Yeah.
Final thoughts. I'll go ahead and start out with my final thoughts, and then I'll let you. Tomorrow's 9/11. It's one of those days that, I'm assuming it's like my grandfather was Pearl Harbor. I'll always remember where and what and exactly what I was doing at that time. This is the 20-year anniversary of it. So, like I said here, take a couple of minutes, think about, the lives lost on 9/11. And unfortunately, the lives lost with the reaction of 9/11 that unfortunately, not only U.S. lives, but just lives in general over in the Middle East for right here. So just, tomorrow will be a hard day, especially if you know somebody from the Northeast from there here. It's having some family members, that live in the Northeast. It's just 9/11 is always a tough day for them here. So thoughts and prayers. And like I said here, if you're able to go out to a memorial or, just, stop and give a few minutes of your time to, think about those that unfortunately didn't make it home from work that day.
Yeah, that was, as the great Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, a date that will live in infamy. It's really weird reflecting on it. Like I'm 34 now. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to remember that and to have, those memories of where I was. I was in freshman woodshop in high school, and they came over the intercom, and it was basically if you're a parent, your parents may pick you up. So contact your parents. And it was like, why? What's going on? And then you kind of realize, oh, our nation's being attacked, and this is the first time we're being attacked in 70 years, and it's happening right now. 60 years. Let me do my math better. On our soil. And it was it's unsettling, but at the same rate, that was the first time we were attacked on our soil in 60 years. Now the 20 years that went by, not preceded, but followed that exactly. Plus, many more decades before that. That's what the Afghani people went through. That's what the Iraqi people have gone through, is constantly having their homeland bombarded. Yeah, way to go, Harry. Austin almost scored there. I know. I saw. way to ruin my heartfelt speech.
Sorry, it was right there. I was like,
"Oh, you're good." I know. I saw it. And Austin bold player down. But that's exactly. Oh, buddy.
Still 0-0.
But yeah, but I mean, like you said, think about the people that were affected, the 20 years of war that happened after that. Those people, with all the bombings and all the military attacks and everything, those people's homeland was under attack for the 20 years after that. We've had 2 days in the last 80. Well, yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy. It's been 80 years since Pearl Harbor. Holy crap. In the last 80 years, we've had our homeland attacked twice. They had their homeland attacked twice every day for the last nearly 80 years. Like, that's insane. It's insane to think about, because I mean, in the 80s, Russia tried to invade Afghanistan unsuccessfully. We tried to in all of the thousands, like from 2001 all the way to 2021. That's what they've had. And this is one of those things where and this was the thing that always angered me about the war on terror. I know we're going political on soccer podcast, but whatever. If you're still listening, I appreciate it. But that was the thing that always made me mad, was they hate us for our freedoms. No, they hate us because we're over there, bombing them, and their house is constantly unsettled. All those kids know is war. Kids that are under 20 years old, they've been at war since they were babies. That's all they know, and nothing good can come out of that. In Iraq, you had a lot of those kids that joined ISIS, and a big reason why they did was, their dads just kind of disappeared, and they went to Abu Ghraib, the prison over there. A lot of their uncles just kind of disappeared, and they went to, whether they were guilty or not. That's just kind of how that went. And you really have to, obviously, being American, you have to, reach out to your fellow American, and God bless our military. And I mean, you got to feel for them, because their families and our soldiers sacrifice a lot. But at the same time, you got to think about the people that were affected, whose home that they were in, that, it's just war's ugly, and the fallout of war is it's never pretty. War's war. War is not good. And I guess that's my long-winded way of saying, thank God that we are officially, I guess, not at war anymore. We've almost
first time in umpteen years.
Yeah, 20 plus years. We have officially pulled out of Iraq, and we've officially pulled out of Afghanistan. And it's about damn time, because we've wasted so much money, so many lives, so much blood over there. And it was our modern day Vietnam. It really was. And it lasted twice as long as Vietnam. So,
and I will say this.
Yeah.
You can critique how they got out, because I don't think it was perfect by any means.
The most important thing is
time to get out.
Yeah.
That's the end result.
Exactly. And that's that exact same thing would have happened whether we left 10 years ago or we left 10 years in the future. Yeah, pretty much the same thing would have happened.
There's never an easy way to end a war.
No.
And no matter what the media likes to tell you, saying, hey, they could have done this different. And there's things that he could have done different. And there's no question about that. There's a certain person that was in a that as of January was in a position to lead that whole thing, and did not.
Yes. His opinion was that he could not believe that the generals on the ground decided to do that, and he would have fired him if he had the opportunity. He had the opportunity in January and the 4 years before that, not naming names, and he didn't do any of that. And
this goes even before him, to President Obama.
And that goes, exactly. Obama. That was a big campaign promise for President Obama, was that we're getting out of Afghanistan, and all of his generals said, "The hell we are. We are not." And kind of what it came down. Well, I mean, let's not go into that. And at the same rate, President Bush got us into it. So
this is
President Bush, President Obama, President Trump. It finally ended with
President
President Biden. I mean,
it's
just about time. I mean, we've had 4 presidents since we've been in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Since 9/11, and
that's about time.
That's why, to me, like I said here, that's why I tied the two together, because 9/11 started it.
Yeah.
And 20 years later, 4 presidents later, you could finally say, hey, that's behind, and that's behind us. And for some people, it's never behind them. And that's even with them coming home. I know my dad dealt with PTSD from the Vietnam War till the day he died. So for some people, even though they're back, they may not be back. So
correct. Which is a beautiful transition to September being
National Suicide Prevention.
Yes. So. If you need help, reach out to Harry or me, or reach out to the national hotline for sure. These people do great work, and man, if you need help, you need help. There is no shame in admitting that you need help and things are spiraling. Just let somebody help you. And if you need help, there's plenty of places to find it, man. We all go through stuff, and sometimes we need help getting out of that. Just, call us or call them, for sure. But at the same rate, wars, just to finish it up, the whole reason that we got into the wars, and I agree with you, Harry, the first thing that I remember after 9/11 is just being completely angry. Obviously, I was 14 years old, just completely angry with the whole thing. And the next thing I remember, in December of that year, there is footage of B-52s dropping bombs on mountains. And my first question was, what are we hitting? We're dropping these multi-million-dollar bombs on mountains. And we're blowing up caves. It's like, how do we know it's the right cave? It's a cave. Yeah. And that was just this is obviously misguided. I hope this doesn't. And then you start getting, we're going to invade Afghanistan. That worked really well in the 80s with the Russians and with Alexander the Great. And with there have been many, many, many attempts to invade Afghanistan for centuries.
And it's not just Afghanistan.
None of them
just
successful.
That area.
It's just that area. It's that area. And the people that know that area, it's just like Vietnam and the Viet Cong. They go underground. You're not gonna defeat that. There are certain ways to defeat that. And that would be shutting off supplies and stuff, but that wasn't the battle that we went there for, and it's kind of the same thing as Vietnam. That's not the battle we went there to fight. And the rules of engagement were kind of not put in our soldiers' favor, but that's anyway. Long-winded about that whole crap. 9/11's awful, but remember all the people that we lost on that fateful day, and remember the heroes that try to help out on that fateful day. And it really should be a holiday that Americans remember, that we came together. That was the one thing that 9/11 really did, was it brought us together. There was a lot of divide from the 2000 election between Gore and Bush, where Bush stole the election from Gore, whether that really happened. Florida, pregnant Chads, all that stuff. I want to bring that up again. It brought everyone together. And for a little bit, exactly. But it did bring people together. People were proud. Yeah. People were proud to be American. I think still people are proud. I'm proud to be American, but there's a lot of crap we can fix about it. You can't just be blindly proud. To love something, you also have to appreciate its imperfections, and you have to want to fix it. So,
I think as a society, and this is the good and bad. It's good because it gives us resources to put out our 2 cents.
Yeah.
And no matter what topic you want, you can find somebody to get out your 2 cents, and some that agree with you and some that don't agree with you. And I think as a society, we've let all media impact our thoughts way too much instead of, I'm a lot older than you. I remember having, the 30 minutes news, and it was news. It wasn't all the other stuff. And then
10
you had
o'clock
your
news for
local
30
news,
minutes.
and then you had your newspaper, and that was it. And if you wanted
The
to learn
land-
more,
The land before the 24-hour news station. Yeah, it was glorious. Yeah, I remember when the only 24-hour channel that was on TV was a TV Guide channel that told you what was on, and that was it. There wasn't any 24-hour news channel. So, but he should have gone down. He should have gone down. That would have been a penalty. Anyway,
if you're asking me who's winning this game, I still think it ends in a draw, but at least initially here, it looks like the Bold are.
That's a bad tackle. That's a bad
are
tackle.
doing very well against New Mexico.
The Bold are creating chances for sure. They're creating a lot more chances than.
I'm sorry, I don't think the Bold have. And this
Oh wow, that was off the line. Oh wow.
I don't think the Bold have the roster to stay in this, but I wouldn't mind them knocking out New Mexico.
He should have gone down. He should have gone down, or that would have been a penalty. Anyway,
but we're an hour and 20 minutes in.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's Friday night. I'm gonna go see Monica. You're gonna go see Susie, and
and tomorrow is Rex's first soccer match, so that should be interesting. Yep, and head coach over here, so that should be very interesting. So. We'll see how that goes.
I'll have to get with you to see where that's at. If it's somewhere close, we'll come heckle the coach.
Yeah, you should. It's fairly close. It's that was awful. That should have put that in the middle. Yeah, it's like 90 in couples. It's not far, but anyway.
But we'll let you go. What's life without goals? Like I said, here we'll have a short turnaround. Sunday night, AJ actually has a soccer match in Bastrop. So
that's
when we get back from Bastrop, maybe around 8:30, because his game doesn't kick off till 4, and I think it's about a 2-hour drive.
Just about, yeah.
Back, so 4 to 6-ish, and then so it'll probably be 8:30-ish, hoping on the way back, and then we'll touch base on the recap of Real Monarchs and look at the upcoming week, and I think you're going to be out that night as well here, because it's going to be a little bit later,
because that's bedtime for Rex for sure
for school. So, but what's life without goals? Hope everybody has a great day.
See ya.